Hello. Good morning, my friends. Evening. I mean, it's definitely not good morning for me, but maybe it's for you. If not, good evening, good day, whatever. Whatever. How are you guys doing? Hey, Dawn. Hope you and the family are good. We are. We are. Nothing to complain about. Life's good. Busy, but good. It's been generally very, very busy lately, which coincides well with how the crypto market's been moving. As in, they've not been moving at all. Like, look at this. It's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-ish weeks in a range. That's quite nice. Delta says, hey, Don. Hey, man. How you doing? What's up, my friend? Not much, not much. Living life, enjoying the non-volatility, but it's starting to look like it might actually move soon, at least on the lower time frames. How's the sleep? Sleep. What is sleep? What is sleep, my friends? Never heard of such a thing, but it's okay. It's getting better. I only get woken up like 5 times a night now, which is significantly better than it was. It's been strong for the past 2 hours. Yeah. I mean, it's been decent for the last 3 weeks. It's just been very, very slow. But I actually like that. If you remember back before the ETF, I was like, the best thing that can happen is if it's boring after, and that's what we're getting. So I'm still maintaining that view. I still think this is the best thing that can happen for the bulls. Unless the traditional markets go to shit, which they don't seem to want to, and they don't look that bad. Looks quite good. But we'll go over it. Before we do, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. I really appreciate their support. You should go check them out. The links are in the description. And let's crack on. Macro doomers in disbelief. They all quit now. They all quit, and now the UK. They all quit the UK bears. Yeah. I mean, that's the vibe, right? The Europeans are all negative, and the UK people all have bearish pay groups. As soon as price goes up, they've been bullish all along. Just trust me. I don't know why, but OBS nuked. I don't even know if when it does this, if people can actually see that it nuked, or if there's something that people can see after the fact. I don't know. Whatever. Still getting my internet sorted out here. So anyway, that's the introduction. I keep talking for like 5 minutes every time, saying nothing, which is great. That's how we roll. But yeah, let's go through the high time frames, get to the low time frames. Like I said a second ago, low time frames look decent. The high time frames look quite good as well. I don't really see a good reason to be too bearish. If anything, like if you're looking at this chart, right, like there's no real reason to be bearish. This is very clear bullish market structure, right? And it also reclaimed the old range, which is this, as you've heard me say every single week for months now. The best thing that you can hope for, I think, is a pullback into support, and that would be 35k. But that doesn't have to happen, right? I think, but that's just looking at the chart, that's the biggest opportunity that I can see on it, high time frame wise. Like 35k, if that happens, that's a buying opportunity. If it doesn't happen, I mean, well, that's just how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Like, if you were waiting for pullback from 20 to 40k, you didn't get any. You only got it after a long time, right? So what could also happen is that this just explodes and then comes back in a massive pullback from way higher, right? It's just how it is. Trading is you don't have guarantees, right? I would like a 35k retest, but I'm definitely not like I see a bunch of people basically, and this is something that I see all the time on social media. They have this idea that something has to happen, and then they just stick with it, and they never move on. And that is not how you become or stay successful as a trader, right? Like if you cannot stomach being like wrong or just changing your views, not gonna make it. But still, like 35k, big support, 45k ish, big monthly resistance. That's kind of the boundaries we're moving in, and I honestly think there's a good chance that this is gonna be where we are gonna be for a while, like for maybe this month, the next month, maybe even 1 month afterwards, just based on how this looks, right? So if you look at the consolidations that we had during this up move, wouldn't be surprising to see something of this sort, even if it doesn't ever hit 35k. We front ran down here too, right? Like we had a really good support at 23k. We front ran that too, so maybe we do the same thing, just keep on bouncing in between like 40 something and 50s, like, or low 50s. Very possible just based on that chart. So, but generally speaking, monthly bullish. If you get a pullback, that's a buy. Only level that it could pull back to, that isn't in the middle of nowhere, 35k. On the weekly time frame, the picture looks a little bit better even. The monthly looks great already, but the weekly looks even better. The only problem is it's at resistance right now. Last time we made this show, I was like, we're trading exactly at that resistance. I was like, it's tough to be too bullish given we're at resistance, but the chart generally doesn't look that bad. Well, now we're back. Like we retraced a bunch last week and now we're back. And the more often times we test that range high, the higher the chances that we're going to break it, right? Don, your audio is chopping. Okay. I will watch back. But I wonder. I wonder why people have issues. Some people and other people don't. Makes no sense to me. But it is what it is. It's probably just. It's probably just like I know that I was lagging for a little bit just because the OBS died. So maybe that's like people are just not caught up or something. I don't know. Anyway, on my end, I'm getting looking decent. No package loss or anything. No drop frames. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, the weekly time frame, like I said, the more often we bounce at that resistance, the more likely it is that it's gonna break out. And obviously the same here at support, right? Both areas have been tested quite a bunch. It's just now we're at range high again. The S&P is doing well, so not the worst look in the world, especially given how strong this uptrend has been, right? Like this is literally like a straight line up and then a straight line sideways, right? If you wanna have this be shown even more obviously, look at that. That's the line chart. Like it's been up, sideways, up, sideways. So what I think is a decent way to play this, if you really want to, is just trust the breakout, right? Like if this breaks out on the weekly time frame, trust it until it fails, right? So basically, if this breaks out, I don't really see a good reason to be bearish. Just doesn't make any sense. It's a strong chart with a clear direction. Then you're betting on higher. And if that fails, it's probably gonna fail spectacularly, right? If that breakout fails again, like it did with the ETF, I think it's gonna fail spectacularly. So you're gonna get a move lower. So starting from low 40s-ish, I think you're gonna be invalidated. And then you lost a little bit, but you can buy quite a bit cheaper. And if it breaks out, I think the more likely outcome would be just going higher to the next resistance. And the next resistance is 60K-ish, which would be quite exciting. So that's kind of like the weekly time frame look. Like I said, the monthly looks a little bit more choppy. And honestly, this could also just end up chopping, but that's just the risk that you take when you're trading breakouts, right? You're going to make money in most cases, but if it chops, that's where you start losing money, especially if you breakout trade. But just what you have to deal with. Where's the alpha? Don't ask me, dude. I'm not the one listening. I'm just the one talking to an audience that for some reason wants to listen. So yeah, that's kind of my view on this whole matter. Like I said, don't fade the breakout. Like, I don't know who said it. Take High said it in the chat. Don't fade the breakout. I tend to agree, and only like I generally trade assuming that a breakout is real until it's not, right? So for example, we broke out here, and my gut feeling was like, this is not gonna work. But I was like, I mean, what's the point of being bearish here, right? Like, we just broke out. We retested it. It doesn't make sense to be bearish. It makes sense to be bullish until we lose 60K. And then it moved up. It moved back down pretty much exactly to the, like, just below the breakout level. And I was like, okay, this is fucked. And it's the same here, right? Just lower time frame with less of an impact, right? So for example, like, we go up here, we retest it, we go up a little bit more, we start breaking down. At that point, I think it makes sense to kind of target lower. And you're not really, like, that trade doesn't cost you much, in my opinion. Meta still pumping. That was the call of a lifetime. Yeah, that was a good one, huh? Live on stream. I think it was Casual Friday where we, like, when it was nuking and it was trading at 93, 94 at the lows somewhere. Cred and I were both talking about it, and I was like, God, this is the time to buy it. I actually tried to buy it live on stream, and given I am European, I had troubles because I wasn't really trading too much on the stock markets back then. And I was just like, fuck it, it's too complicated. It is what it is. So yeah, that's the weekly time frame. Pretty neat looking. I'm surprised, honestly, that it's been this strong after the news, right? Because basically everyone that bought here, anticipating the ETF to be good news and to drive price higher, made out like a bandit, and they, like, whoever kind of took on too much leverage, too much size, whatever, they obviously offloaded. Like, anyone with half a brain is obviously gonna offload. Like, if you took too much size in the 25K region, you're gonna offload that right before the ETF, right? And right after the ETF. And that has led to no price movement at all. And then the same with the GBTC stuff. It's been absorbed for now. And if that maintains, I mean, that's just good looking. Now, obviously, like, I'm aware that price is quite high, like, just from like a relative perspective. This is 200 something % move, right? From the low to the high. Can obviously go higher. I mean, here we had much bigger than that, but it's still quite a big move, especially now that Bitcoin has a sizable market cap, right? When it was trading at 3K, going from 3K to 10 or 12, that is quite a big percentage move, but in money terms, it's not as much. This is quite significant in comparison. So I am aware that, yes, price has moved quite a lot, and it's much more expensive now, but it's not really how the trading side of things works. As long as you get a risk-defined setup and you can trade it from 40 to 60, even if it goes back to 32K after, not sure that would happen, but, like, let's say it does. that leg is still worth trading, right? I'm not saying that will happen though. I think 60 to 30 would be quite aggressive. If anything, if it went to 60 and did like a sizable pullback, I think I could see it come back into the low 40s-ish before going sideways, maybe dipping a little bit lower, but then going higher. So for now, a little bit on the more like optimistic side of things, but like I said, it's on the weekly resistance. And on the daily time frame, that's the same story, right? So right now on the daily time frame, this has been our range in here. We had an overthrow on the ETF days. We had an underthrow, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. You undercut the range, you overshot it, whatever you want to call it. After, basically, this was the sell the news selling and the GBTC selling, and now you're back in the range and you're kind of like seeing price push quite aggressively into the range high. And that's a good thing, technically speaking, because the more often you push into that resistance, the weaker it gets. Like there's a bunch of people willing to sell in the 44K region, but there's a finite amount of those people, right? Like at some point they're gonna run out of coins. It's the same with support, right? Like when you have a support and then the price does this over and over and over again, at some point everyone that wants to buy this bought it, and then price just craters, right? It's the same obviously at resistance. If you do this and you could just keep on moving into that resistance, I mean at some point there's just not enough to sell anymore, and then you teleport. That's where the teleports come from. So this is decent, but it still needs to move above that resistance, because right now it's both on weekly and daily resistance, same as it was 7 days ago, right? So yeah, what I'm saying is it makes sense to be a little bit cautious, but also everything just looks quite good on all time frames. Even if it pulls back, it looks great, right? Like even if it looks back to pulls back towards support, I mean, there's really nothing to complain about. So that's Bitcoin. Pretty straightforward. Good vibes for now. Obviously, would like the thing is like if it fails to break out and then comes back down, obviously starts looking really shitty really fast. So you kind of have to be quick on this one, just based on the fact like when you've nuked a lot from 60 to like 15K, like false breakouts like this one, for example, they're not that bad because you already like, as long as you assume that Bitcoin has some value, right? Like they're not that bad because where's this thing gonna go, right? If this goes to 5K, like 10 people can buy all of it, because at this point a bunch of people in crypto are so giga rich that they don't like, there's unrealistic prices that are just not gonna hit, and this was getting quite close to it. Now obviously if you're trading at 40, 50, 60K, you don't have that luxury because it didn't go like so far down that it's just like easier to buy it, just because you know that this is not gonna go just straight to zero, and this can pull back quite a bit and still be bullish, which is less uncomfortable, right? Like for example, like when I was buying 15K, I was like, this can go up a lot and still be bearish, and I love that when I have this setup, right, where I was like, hey, this is down so low, even if it's bearish, this can bearishly retest 32K, right? And then I have it double. And if it turns out to be bullish, I mean, the sky is the limit. And that luxury you don't have right now, because it can pull back towards 32K and still be bullish. It could technically even pull back to 27K and still be bullish on the higher time frames. But also, like during bull markets, sometimes that's all you get, right? Like as in like you just get the shitty price, the shitty sideways in the middle of nowhere. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, but not looking bad, and honestly looking 10 times better than it should. Hi Don, what trades did you take in 2022 during the bear? I bought a bunch. Basically, like I don't short. I used to short a lot during this bear market, but then I was like, this is kind of foolish. I'm full-time crypto. I don't want to spend my time shorting it the entire time. That kind of like defeats the purpose. So I was like, I'm just not gonna short anymore. I shorted, like I tried like a few times, but I generally just like, for me it's a little bit of a waste of time. So I was like, either I want to have no exposure to crypto, or want to be bullish it. I don't want to be like leverage shorting it, right? So there was not that much for me to do during the slide when you're not on the short side of things, but I did buy a bunch. Like I bought down here, and I bought down here, and I actually thought this was gonna be the bottom for a while. Luckily I kind of made it out because you had a pretty clean kind of like sign of weakness, like this was starting to kind of just droop lower, and then the FTX implosion happened, which I'm glad that I kind of got out, and then I could rebuy here. So that was for the trades. I took a couple, like I said. I bought here, made a little bit of profit, got out again. I bought here, made a little bit of profit, got out again. Basically what I do when Bitcoin is in a bear market, when it keeps going lower, when it's excessively down, I just tend to buy, hoping that I'm just fishing for a bottom basically. And if the market does what I want it to, like for example here, I really like this structure where it just grinded up, retested it, and then just did this whole like very slow grind upwards while news flow was very negative, and I kind of dig that. And it's much easier to hold through these when you have a good entry, right? So what I tend to do is I try to buy when it gets excessively low, and then I bet on the bottom, and if I see anything that doesn't agree with my thesis, I just get out and try again lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. That's what I'm going to do the next bear market too. Don always wanted to ask, did you play the COVID crash at all? I actually did. It's on my timeline. I shorted this. This move down. I closed my shorts into the 7K support, and then bought pretty much the Pico bottom live on stream, or like I mean, there is a video of it somewhere. Someone sent it to me and uploaded it to YouTube. I forgot where. I linked it once, but I don't know where it is. But basically I bought, this was fun during the COVID crash. Like I bought, and I was like, I mean, this is either gonna go to zero or gonna be a good entry. And it was sitting here, and I was streaming for 2 hours or like an hour or something, watching the entire space go nuts. That was a fun stream. TK says I've watched it. I can confirm. Yeah, that was good times. So yeah, I showed it here, got a really lucky entry with the whole COVID situation. It nuked. I closed way too early because I thought like, I mean, that's like 7K. I was like, oh, that's good enough. And then it nuked all the way to 3 point something. And then we just bought, like collectively, the stream bought. We were basically saying like singing our farewells to each other. It was good. Don, now that Bitcoin ETF narrative is gone, do you still think that if ETH outperforms Bitcoin, it's bearish? No, it's better now. I honestly think it wouldn't be too bad for the market if ETH outperformed. So yeah, it's okay if this does well. I also don't really mind the last days of price action too much. This is more constructive than a lot of the other shit that I've been seeing, because basically what we've been seeing on ETH, and we'll get to this, massive pumps into full retraces, into massive pump, full retrace. And what it's done now is a massive pump, a half of a retrace and then kind of curling up. Like that's not too bad as long as you don't undercut here, obviously. But I'm not hating on this too much. I'm like, it's obviously not great looking, but it's 10 times better than it has been. So, but we'll get to this in a sec. So yeah, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, quite a bit away from good support, but also quite strong. So yeah, someone shared that stream on YouTube a few months ago. Yeah, I watched a part of it, but then I got distracted with, I think, my daughter, but I don't know. But I know it's out there somewhere. And like I said, I shared it on Twitter. Like I didn't post about it, but I liked the YouTube video. Whatever. Don't ask me. I have no idea where it is. I couldn't find it anymore. Someone else is gonna have to do that. The reason, and a bunch of people are going mad in the chat, the reason why no one can post it properly is because I streamed on Twitch back then, and Twitch deletes the recordings after 30 days. But someone recorded it and posted it, but we obviously don't know the title by heart. Anyway, that's Bitcoin. Like I said, pushing into resistance. I need to break that to be even better looking than it is already. On the ETH front, we're still below the range, but at least we're not making new lows. Right now, it's still quite on the weekly time frame anyway. It's quite bearish. It's trying hard though, and it's trying at the last line of defense, which is this kind of support here. I think if that is undercut, ETH just looks horrendous, right? So basically, you need to hold this, which makes the trade somewhat like, if you really, really want to be bullish ETH, which makes the trade easier, which is basically just like, yeah, you want to be bullish here. You're like, this is high or low, and any close below this box, you're just like, fuck it. And that's why I think we're having this reaction, because people are seeing that there is a decent setup to be had there. It's just, it still looks weak overall. So that is quite a decent setup and quite the weak support. But it is support, and we all love ETH, so I'm not hating on the trade itself. So that is ETH. It's quite straightforward. It really needs to hold this box, and the more oftentimes we will test this, the worse it gets, right? Like, let's say it goes up and comes back down. There's a little bit confident support, right? But still, that's not a good look. So it has to do something here. So if you're bullish, might as well, because if it fails this, you're either in for chop or downside. I don't think there's a world in which we go below this box and then just straight go up. I'd be very surprised. If anything, if you go lower, I could see it chop for a while. It's not something you necessarily want to trade, or just straight up go down. So if you want to be bullish, this is one of the times where you at least have a setup still. I'm not the biggest fan of the setup, but I'm also not hating. There you go. That's ETH BTC. ETH USD, on the other hand, actually doesn't look that bad, quite surprisingly. Held the support at 2.2, and it's kind of like now curling into resistance, same as Bitcoin does. A little bit weaker on that front, but there's also, on ETH USD, there's less resistance in here. Like, you can basically, there's shitty resistance above 2.5, and I think you can teleport easily to 3 or maybe even 4K, right? The next good resistance is 4K. So on that front, I think this might be the first time where you can actually take a decent trade on ETH based on the USD chart, because yes, you could have taken a bunch of trades, and I mean, I did take a bunch of ETH trades. I traded it down here or down here, I don't remember, but I know that I traded it below. No, it must have been down here because it was below 1K when I bought it. So I was this time I traded it towards the highs. So there was trades to be had there, yes, but it's all been underperformance of Bitcoin, right? So if you bought ETH, even there's money to be made, but you made less money than anyone trading Bitcoin. And I think there is a world in which if you break out above 2.5, you actually get a decent ETH trade, and it's gonna be carried by ETH USD, as in like ETH USD strength might actually influence the ETH BTC chart for once, which would be quite bullish for ETH. That's exactly what you need. So above 2.5 starts looking quite strong, I think, and then the next resistance is quite far away. Until then, it's in between levels, but yeah, it's at least kind of curling upwards, right? So like as long as that maintains and it keeps pushing into that resistance, not that bad. And then obviously same deal applies to ETH as has been to Bitcoin. If you get a breakout above 2.5, that's bullish, and I target the next resistance. If it comes back below it, then it's kind of fucked, and then you can expect a little bit bigger pullback, maybe to 1.9 or like 1.6 at that point. But yeah, I'm personally not gonna take an ETH trade probably. Goku says he found the stream and posted the title. So for the people that want to watch it, that's DonAlt Apocalypse stream in brackets 13th of March 2020. I cannot guarantee that is what it is. Don't click on any stupid links, but yeah, probably about right. Trusting Goku here. Would you take the ETH trade if you were not on vacation? If ETH BTC starts looking good, I might actually take it. It's just, it needs to look good first. And I know that's like a very boomer take, but like you said, I'm kind of taking it easy. So yeah, if ETH starts looking good on ETH BTC, I think it's a worthwhile trade. Otherwise, might still just be Bitcoin time, right? Someone asked for Bitcoin dominance, and this is a shitty metric. I will repeat it every single time I look at it because it includes stablecoins and it's all over the place, right? So basically, this is supposed to go down only, and every time it goes up, that's a miracle in itself. That means altcoins are really, really getting fucked on like as a whole. Not obviously every single altcoin, but as a whole, Monero trade, I like it. It's up 25%. Can talk about this too in a sec. Where was I? Bitcoin dominance. Got derailed. But yeah, it's been trending up, but it's been getting weaker, right? So one thing that could make me kind of like think that anything like any Bitcoin breakout isn't necessarily genuine would be if altcoins just go crazy into it, and I think that would be a good top indication. So maybe that's what we're gonna get, like a breakout from 44 to 50, and then altcoins go wild, and then Bitcoin pulls back, and then you just go sideways for a while. At this current moment, I don't really know. That's why I'm holding off. Like I usually just trade when I'm quite certain of something. And it makes for a shitty YouTube show if you're a guy that like 90% of the time doesn't have any good advice. Like I'm like I don't know for 90% of the time, which obviously is not as fancy as other people that always have an opinion about things, right? But I like to kind of just look for the moments where I have a clear edge and a clear opinion about how the market should move and how like what should be happening, and then act on that. Has helped me kind of keep my money, but is obviously not as fancy and not as interesting for YouTube, is what it is. But yeah, Bitcoin dominance, This is starting to run a little bit out of steam, I think. And I think generally, if Bitcoin continues to go up, I could see, because it's like the thing is, right? Like people in the world around us, they don't really care about crypto unless Bitcoin is near or at all-time highs. And then they're like, oh shit. And then they buy altcoins. It's just how it always goes. And that's how they always lose their money. But that's just kind of how it is. So now with Bitcoin being so high, the only way for Bitcoin dominance, I think, to continue to go up is if Bitcoin just nukes. If Bitcoin goes up, I think this could go up a little bit with it, as in altcoins lose relative to Bitcoin. But then I think we would get close enough to high enough numbers where people would start buying altcoins, and quite massively so. So if you get a Bitcoin dominance run based on a Bitcoin movement to the upside, I think you can start rotating into altcoins. And I might, just to catch a little bit of that retail mania, like if you get to 60K, I think that's the trade. Like anyone that's just trading once every 10 years in crypto, or every 5 years, that's the kind of trade that you would need to look out for. It's just when the mania starts again. And I cannot guarantee that that's going to happen. If the market stays boring or like stays sideways for a while, maybe it doesn't happen. But I would think like if we move in the next 1, 2, 3 months upwards towards 60, I think that would kind of mark the top. As in, like, then you would get altcoins outperforming massively, a bunch of flows into alts and out of Bitcoin, and then the entire market pulls back. So like that's one way to kind of find the next top, if we should get one. So like cycle tops, generally speaking, in my opinion, are best measured with altcoin moves. It's something that I've done for years. For example, the last one I talked about the TA aspect of it, but I also like, and there's tweets, like if you look on the dates, on these kind of dates, I tweeted at the Pico top basically, hey, Dogecoin, Litecoin, whatever is moving. And that is usually like whenever that happens, like when the shittiest shit basically moves up, you're in trouble. So, and the same thing happened here, obviously, in 2017. And pretty much every single cycle top, you get this kind of behavior where people are just like piling into risk and then get completely screwed over. Hi Dawn, how do you stop yourself from promoting scams like most CT big accounts? I don't know. I just don't see how that makes, like, what's the trade-off there, right? You sell your honor for a little bit of money. I don't see how that's a good trade, right? Like if it would cost me 10 seconds of sleep and it would cost me way more than that, I don't think it's a good trade. I don't know, like if you're super desperate for money, fair enough. But otherwise, like, I just don't see the point. Like, there's so much free money in crypto. You get, like, a bunch of airdrops that are going to make people's eyes drop. And Bitcoin goes up from, like, 1K to 60. Like, there's so much free money in this market that I don't really see the point why anyone is scamming anyone, realistically. I know it's easy in this market, right? Like, a bunch of people do it. And it seems to be, like, the easiest market to scam people out of money, but also like, why the fuck? Like if you're hanging around for a couple of years in crypto, I mean, you should not need to. So the reason why I'm not doing it is because I really don't want to. Like, yeah. If there's like, if I had a need to make money, there's a million ways that are just better. And one of them is just trading this damn fucking market. Like, I mean, yeah. Will you be trading Bitcoin ETFs instead of spot BTC now that it's basically fee free? And there's a good chance that I will, yeah. I still need to look into all of that, but I also feel more secure having, looks like it wants to go. Like, this is such a tight range, right? That, like, it just looks like it wants to go. But maybe, and this would be most cursed, it just does something like this. That'd be fucking cursed. So we remove that drawing and pretend I never drew it. But yeah, that's that. On the altcoin front, Solana still quite boring. I still think, honestly, I still think the ETH trade is the more interesting one. And I know this is like very much not the opinion, like not the opinion of most people in the space. Like everyone is like, if ETH goes up, Solana is gonna go up more. But for some reason, and I could be completely wrong here, but I mean that's what I'm gonna do anyway. I think Sol ETH is probably gonna go down, or at least stay at the same level. I think the ETH trade is much more interesting because I think ETH could have the same upside from this point onwards, obviously not from earlier, as Solana has, but the downside on Solana is 10 times bigger. So I think ETH's more interesting on the altcoin front. And I think in general, if ETH goes back into this old range, 0.057, if you're very, very aggressive, and 0.06 if you're a reasonable person, and I know there's not that many of those around. If those get reclaimed, I think like I almost guarantee that if this one is reclaimed, we're gonna go much higher. If this one gets reclaimed, there's a chance. But I think that's gonna be a better trade than almost any other altcoin. Not based on the fact that other altcoins might not go up as much, or like I think other altcoins can go up more, but just the risk that you take is quite like. Look, ETH has been terrible as a trade, right? ETH has been horrendous, honestly. But from the high to the low, ETH BTC is down like 50%. Now you look at Sol BTC, from the high to the low, that is down 90%. Now you look at AVAX, from the high to the low, that's 90%, right? So yes, ETH has been a shit trade. Yes, ETH has been very, very boring generally, but also like you have to consider that like the downside of this has been very muted in comparison to other altcoins. It's just so the upside has also been very muted, right? But I think that could change if you get a little bit of strength. You have the narrative right there. It just needs to be, someone needs to run with it basically. So yeah. Can someone link the COVID crash live stream? I don't think anyone can link it because links are not allowed for good reason, right? Like you don't want to click on links on anything crypto related. Generally, like just trust me on this. And this is something that everyone should learn on the internet as a whole, especially the more widespread crypto gets. You don't want to click on links. No matter what you think that link is, just don't. Look it up yourself. Go to your trusted YouTube, type in what the title they gave you, which Goku just linked again, and it's gonna be better for you just generally. Don, can you check XMR? Yes, we can. So the reason why XMR has been moving this erratically is because it got delisted by Binance, right? And that's why it's been having that nuke. And I mean, I think the majority of that move is done, right? That recapture move, whatever. Like basically how this plays out every time, right? When you get a delisting, people sell because they're like, this is fucked. This is just gonna go to zero. So they sell everything they have instantaneously, which gets you like a candle from $170 to $100. And then a bunch of opportunists come in and they're like, I mean, there's a trade there. This is like, who's left to sell, right? And this is just kind of the argument, like, who's left to sell? If everyone on Binance just sold the shit and no market other than Binance is really interesting, who's gonna dump on me? And then they just buy. It bounces quite a bit, but that doesn't mean it gonna go back up again. I think this is basically just a mean reversion trade. That said, sometimes these things can turn into more, right? But I wouldn't want to bet on it in this case. So I think it was a good trade. A bunch of my friends actually took it, just based on that whole narrative. Who's gonna dump on me, right? After it already dumped so much. But I think generally, like, this is something that I personally just don't necessarily trade. And if the chart looked good, like if this was a nuke on an otherwise strong chart, that'd be one thing. But this is XMR Bitcoin, right? Like, that's been in a downtrend forever. If it closes above here, maybe there's a trade there, but I mean, it's just a weak chart generally. So on weak charts, if this nuke, like if you get a nuke like this, yes, you can trade it based on this just being down too much. But I personally don't tend to hold these kind of entries. Like, I'm like, okay, I made a bunch of money, but look at that Bitcoin chart. This is not something that I would want to hold, even if this, like, maybe this is the bottom, right? And there's a good level here too. Maybe this is the bottom and it goes up, but you can basically be bullish from higher on this. If it catches a bid, if it reclaims this, or like I said, on the monthly time frame, if it reclaims that versus Bitcoin, or if it actually comes back above like 180-ish. And I know that's very far, but it's just because I really, like, what I wouldn't want to do is buy this thing and it's only trading on illiquid market. It's not trading on Binance anymore, and then be stuck in something that I actually don't want to have. And the thing is, like, if Binance delisted, who's next, right? Duck, German butter from Algo is so good. Your butter is way better quality than burger butter. I mean, I would hope so. The Germans are the butter people. I mean, when I was a child, I would get like bread with butter on it, and that'd be a meal. And that's not because, I mean, we were also poor, but that wasn't necessarily the case. It's just because the bread back then was very good, and the butter obviously also. Nowadays, I would say the German bread is, like, there's still good German bread, but it's harder to find. Casper has been running today. Can we peek at it? The only reason why I'm doing you that favor is because you've been doing me the favor with the video. Because I mean, this is literally not even it's not even on any exchange, dude. I mean, I wouldn't even touch these exchanges with, like, if anything, Uniswap, you know, but fucking hell, if it's only listed on these exchanges, like, it's not a trade for me. But yeah, obviously it's been an uptrend. Doesn't look that bad. But there's not really that much TA you can do on these. Like, if this is a shit project, there's a good chance it gets rug pulled or you get, like, distributed on, no matter how good it looks. If it's a good project, I mean, it can go much higher. Like that, when people ask me for, like, these smaller coins, and this is, I'm sure, small, just based on the fact that it's not really traded on any decent exchange. I cannot really give too much of an insight, just because, like, let's say I bought this, or like someone bought this, and I think it'd be enough if someone bought this, like 100,000 of this spot, it would move the market significantly, right? So then what is the TA good for if one individual can move the market? But yeah, support down here, held, it's bounced. I think if anything, look at the higher time frames as the weekly. But I mean, yeah, this, I mean, it just looks like a higher low. Like, I wouldn't want to bet on this going down, but also it's not my kind of market. 33 on coin market cap, Jesus fucking Christ. And it's not trading on any decent exchange, then I wouldn't want to touch it. Because if it's already that high, if it gets listed on any of the exchanges, I would expect it to just kind of like rug on listing. And then the run up could just be insiders buying because they know there's gonna be a listing coming. But those I just generally don't touch. Like with these things, like if they're very low and they have momentum, and you're like, oh yeah, fuck yeah, it's gonna get listed and then it can run. Yeah, cool. But if it's already that high, if anything, I would expect to get distributed on. But yeah. Don't mind commenting on Tesla and coin for longer term. So I really, and this is something I said. This is something I said last stream with Tesla. I think in general, Tesla is probably going to underperform. I think Musk's, and this is something that even Musk fans have to kind of admit, right? Musk's kind of popularity is probably never going to go back to all-time high, because there was a time where and this is the saddest thing that I have to say, because this makes no sense from a European standpoint, but it's just how it is in America, I guess. At some point, both Democrats and Republicans and everyone abroad thought that Elon Musk was kind of like was a genius that was kind of just like gonna change the world in all kinds of ways, right? So everyone was on board. Like the Europeans were like, oh shit, EVs, that's so cool, technology of the future, whatever. The Democrats were like, oh yeah, like climate change, like he's helping, whatever, cool. And then the Republicans were just liking what he was saying in general. And then that's been going downhill. Like now it's obvious that he's just liked by the Republicans in America. His popularity in Europe has been going down significantly, I would say. And in America, it's like half of the population now, right? And a lot of this value is based on him just being this godlike figure, right? Like this is why this was bigger than most car companies combined at some point, right? And now, like, no matter what you think about him, right? Like if you think he's right or not, like he basically, like he had basically, I would say like 80% of the world convinced that he was like a giga genius, and he might be, right? But now that percentage has shifted drastically. And a lot of, like I said, a lot of the Tesla valuation is based on him being a god. And if there's less people believing, I think it makes less sense to have a high valuation, like a high Elon premium. And that's kind of been rugging, I think. That's why it's been underperforming so badly this year. So yeah, I'm not even saying, I mean, I personally don't like the guy. I was a fan. I don't like the way he's been kind of like trying to make it so that like he's the fighter for justice and the only one, because I very much disagree with a lot of the shit he's been saying, and the way he's kind of like fueling the fire of sorts. Like he's just, it looks like he wants to have a lot of attention, and doesn't really care too much about what he's actually saying. But I might be wrong on that front. But that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, like what I think about him. I just think the percentage of people that will support him has shrunk significantly. How has it shifted when he's still making headlines and owns the biggest social platform? The dude was literally making headlines as the future God Emperor, and now he's making headlines that are very much more mixed, is all I'm saying. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So that's kind of the reason why I don't necessarily would want to have this longer term. I think there's better things to hold. But also, if you like him and if you like Tesla, I mean, it's hugely successful, right? Like Teslas are driving on all roads around the world. I mean, be my guest. I'm not saying this is a terrible investment. I'm just saying I'm expecting it to underperform other things because he's losing his god status, and I think if he didn't have that, it'd be trading significantly lower. But we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Just my personal opinion. I'm not a stock trading kind of guy. And with coin, I think, like me personally, I just like to own Bitcoin better. Like if I'm bullish crypto, I like to own Bitcoin, and I like to be able to like shift that into ETH and altcoins and whatever. I think like if altcoins go mad, like any gains that you can have in coin are gonna be dwarfed by anything really fast. But it's not the worst. I like it better than mining stocks, and I like it better than a lot of other stocks in crypto. But I generally don't like crypto stocks. Like I like if I'm bullish, I like to buy crypto and not necessarily the stock equivalent, and just bet on that outperforming. Just makes it too complicated for me. Like I'm like, Bitcoin is gonna go up, therefore Coinbase is gonna go up because the earnings are gonna go. And I'm like, just shut up. Bitcoin is gonna go up, so I buy Bitcoin. I like to 50 IQ it. So that's that. I think that's enough for today. Hope you enjoyed it. I did. Yeah, big shout out to Woo for sponsoring the show. Really appreciate their support. Like I said at the beginning, go check them out. They're cool people, and they're running a really good exchange that keeps getting better every day, in my opinion. Working quite hard at that. I can see a lot of the internal chat, and I like it. So go check them out. Links are in the description. If not, also cool. We really don't have to. Yeah, thanks for hanging out. Hope you appreciate it. Wow, that sounds so fucking bad. No, I appreciate your support and hope you enjoyed it. And we'll see each other soon. Definitely Friday. Last week we skipped it, but that was because Cred was ill. I don't think he's gonna be ill this Friday. So, and if he's gonna be, I'm gonna drag him to the microphone anyway. So yeah, have a good night, good rest of your day. See you soon. Bye bye.